Welcome to Raw History. This is where we cut through romanticization and speculation to show you the unfiltered reality of human history. The 1920s represented peak homesteading years in America, with the high years occurring between 1910 and 1920. Several wet years in the Southwest, beginning in 1912, provided enough water to grow crops and attract people to remote areas, where bears remained abundant. In the mid-18th century and continuing through the early 20th century, black bears were especially problematic for their predation on the meager crops and livestock that settlers depended on for food. Settlers had to protect these valuable commodities at all costs if they intended to survive. Winter intensified these conflicts as bears sought food before hibernation or emerged hungry in early spring when stored food supplies became critical targets. Most homesteads, nestled in mountains far from civilization, faced additional danger from harsh environment, rugged terrain, and dangerous predators. With communication nearly non-existent, save an occasional post rider, people had to be self-reliant, resourceful, and downright tough. The Appalachian region, from southern Maryland to northern Georgia, became known for intense bear conflicts, where settlers carved out existence in territory where black bears had lived undisturbed for millennia. By the 1920s, homesteaders across the western frontier faced similar challenges as they pushed into bear habitat while attempting to raise crops and livestock that attracted hungry predators. The brutal reality poison, traps and guns. In the 1800s and early 1900s, people used poison, traps and guns to eliminate black bears. Knowledge and attitudes have slowly improved, with discussions now centering on how to coexist with bears rather than on how to get rid of them. However, during the 1920s, coexistence remained an alien concept. Bears were viewed as dangerous pests that threatened survival. Large, dangerous animals near town were typically hunted down immediately by groups of townspeople or hired hunters and trappers. There just weren't game wardens, forest rangers, animal control officers, or animal advocates to moderate human responses to bear conflicts. The Newhouse bear traps, manufactured from 1911 through 1925, represented the primary tool for managing bear problems. These massive leg-hold traps, with the largest number 6 model weighing approximately 40 to 50 pounds, featured steel jaws with large teeth designed to hold bears that would otherwise tear free. Setting these traps required specialized clamps or, honestly, multiple people to compress the powerful springs. Trappers positioned them along known bear trails, near food sources, or around homesteads where bears had caused damage. The traps didn't kill instantly. Captured bears remained alive and, well, still dangerous, until trappers arrived to dispatch them with firearms. Poison represented another common but, really indiscriminate method. Strychnine-laced bait killed bears but also killed dogs, livestock, and other wildlife. The practice created cascading problems for homesteaders who relied on working dogs for multiple purposes. Shooting remained the preferred method when possible, requiring skilled marksmanship to kill a bear quickly before it could charge. Many homesteaders lacked the firearms or ammunition needed for reliable bear defense, making them dependent on traps despite the expense and honestly the difficulty of acquiring and maintaining them. Dogs, the homesteader's early warning system. Hunting dogs provided the most effective bear deterrent available to 1920s homesteaders. In the Appalachian region, the Plott family, who had moved from Germany to North Carolina, developed a breed specifically for bear hunting. Johannes Plott brought hunting dogs from Germany around the mid-1700s. Dogs believed to be hound-like in stature with superior scenting ability and high drive to hunt and catch game. Several generations of Plotts refined the breed into what became recognized as North Carolina's state dog. So these bear dogs served dual purposes. They detected approaching bears before they reached homesteads, and they treed or bayed bears to hold them in place until hunters arrived. A good pack of bear dogs could, chase a bear away from settlements without killing it, though many encounters unfortunately resulted in dog injuries or deaths when bears turned to fight. The dog's barking provided advance warning that allowed families to secure livestock, bring children indoors, and prepare firearms for defense. The versatile homestead guardian and varmint-catching dogs spread across regions where bear conflicts remained common. Families who couldn't afford trained bear dogs used mixed-breed farm dogs that, while less effective, still provided some warning of approaching wildlife. The practice of keeping multiple dogs around homesteads served protective functions that extended beyond bear defense to include alerting for other predators, strangers, and general security in isolated locations where law enforcement simply didn't exist. Winter presented unique bear management challenges. Harsh winters forced homesteaders to emphasize insulation and appropriate livestock care for survival during those cold months. Food storage became absolutely critical, as families had to preserve enough provisions to last until spring planting. These stored foods, smoked meats, preserved vegetables, grain supplies, would, attract bears either before hibernation in autumn or after their emergence in early spring, when natural food sources were still quite scarce. One Kansas homesteader described burning corn stalks for fuel both winter and summer, with family members sleeping in unplastered upper rooms for several years. It was not unusual, on awaking cold winter mornings, to find covers around heads frozen and beds white with snow, which had been driven through tiny cracks in the roof by strong wind during the night. In these conditions, a bear breaking into food stores represented a truly catastrophic loss. Without transportation to towns or money to replace stolen provisions, losing winter food supplies to bears could mean starvation for entire families. Homesteaders constructed elevated food caches, structures built on tall poles or in trees, to place provisions beyond bear reach. Log cabins with heavy doors and small windows provided better security than sod houses or the tiny frame structures many families initially built. Some homesteaders kept firearms loaded and ready inside their homes throughout winter, recognizing that minutes could determine survival if a bear approached during storms, when visibility and response time were, seriously compromised. Community cooperation became essential, with neighbors alerting each other when bears were spotted in the area and sometimes organizing group hunts to eliminate persistent problem animals. Subscribe to Raw History for evidence-based explorations of frontier survival that separate romanticized wilderness living from the brutal challenges families actually faced. Share your knowledge of historical wildlife management in the comments below.